There are lot plans and all that kind of stuff. So excited Gary's here. He just happens to be the father of our speaker today.
Just remember, when you heckle, ask for the microphone first so that we can all hear you. Today is the first of the season for a few things. Baseball starts at home. And then what else starts today? The Masters. Okay, help me out. So let's start out with Richard. If you have 1 minute, Taste of Lakeville and road cleanup.
Okay, so Taste of Lakeville, we're still full steam ahead. 25th of August, and right now the big item is auction. I don't know if anybody up Lowell, anybody on the auction team online here wants to say anything.
Auction is May 14th through the 24th, and you've all received an email, if you haven't checked for it, from Kathy. I know many of you members are always asking us, how can you contribute and donate? It's very simple. We like cash, and we have a lot of packages in mind that we're trying to build with your cash contributions. So take a look in your emails and please forward that. And if you have any questions about how you can participate in this year's Taste of Lakeville auction, reach out to Cheryl Morton, actually, and Dan Perez. They are in charge of member donations. And Cheryl, I see you in the gallery, so she's in the room at Brackets if anybody wants to approach her there. Otherwise, you can always reach out to me. Thanks
for all your hard work. I know we get a lot of emails from the club, but all of them are important. This one really is important, and that one email that came out there outlines the auction. We really need everybody's support because that's a big money maker. Ticket sales will start soon, and we've got the home show coming up next month. Volunteer. Road cleanup, the risque road cleanup, or road cleanup and risque roadkill contest will be a week from Tuesday on the 20th. And as again, though the mayor just did this, but I've been hearing about a lot of seediness out there, and it's left a lot of things along the road. And we're going to need to get out there at 5:45 to clean that up. So it's a lot of fun. We all meet afterwards at Greenville for beer. And so be there, be square. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. I'm going to work my way over here for a quick basketball pool update.
All right. So I've been
Talk loud.
One Rotary Club member who it's probably obvious, but we'll remain nameless. It's very shady how it is. I also heard that it was quite a discussion the other night at a meeting where that came up. But anyway, so we had 21 participants. At kind of the four-way test where you put in your $10. The rules are that the last place person gets their money back. So that person gets $10, and we get $10 for the biggest upset set, and then there's 50, 30, 20 for first, second, third place. So the person who's getting their money back for last place is Cheryl Moore. She went with my rule of thumb, and I was set up to 12, and that didn't pay out so well for her because Texas did not make it to the final four and win the championship. And related to that, we didn't have anybody, as I mentioned previously, nobody in the club had won or picked Oral Roberts to win. But we did have two people who picked Emily and Christian over Texas. So Steve Allen and Cody get their $10. So Steve money. And then we actually had three people in the club pick Baylor's to win. But one of the people who picked Baylor didn't actually place because my daughter, who 2 years ago had Texas Tech going the whole distance, skated through, didn't get any money, and has harassed me ever since about that wasn't fair. Ended up, even though she had Gonzaga winning, she had enough points to stay in third place. So my daughter will get $30 or $40, and what's that? So I'll get back to Emily because Emily is the one that paid the private entry fee, and she's got to collect the $10 back. Second place is Tony Steele. I don't think I saw him here today either. So Tony Steele gets $50, and then people are saying that the commissioner shouldn't win, but I'm still going to take $90.
Funny, the two pools that betting pools that I was in, the commissioner each time won it. Greg Lemire was supposed to run his, but Andy did from Metro, and he was the winner as well. I love the parenting tips. You know, a lot of us as parents tell our kids, bet on yourselves, bet on yourselves. The Williams mantra is bet on sports. I like that. Sheila, do you have an update as for community service? Or are you still in Florida time?
And back on it soon. Actually, I wished I did have something to report. Ken probably has more information than I do. He did get a request from the Open Doors. I have all my notes from home, and I did respond to it, Ken, and the gentleman that's in charge of it is not going to be back till Monday, so I really don't have anything to say other than they're looking for volunteers from our organization to help with their community garden. And it would involve not only the planting, but on through the season. And I asked him in my email to him if he would give some specifics as to what he's looking for and also the time limits. So next week I'll have more information. But just put that in the back of your mind that they're all interested in helping them out, then we'll be looking for volunteers.
8/28.
Pardon?
8/28.
Oh,
Kathy
There you
sent
go.
out an email.
yeah.
She's right.
I'll try to get specifics, more specifics.
Thank you, and thank you, Sheila, or Nancy online for helping out in that regard. Like to get a Tim Murphy update from Dave Oswald, and it's good news.
Yeah, it's great news. And if you are a praying sort of person, if you believe that prayers get answered, this is an answered prayer, because Tim is back. I had a 12 back. He's making tremendous progress. I had a 12-minute video conference with him the day before yesterday, and it's just amazing to see a guy that was dead, technically physically dead for 35 minutes, back with us, and gaining his faculties more and more every day. It was a wonderful conversation. He remembered that we go to car auctions every so often. Couldn't quite remember Kansas City. Remember Tom eating most part, but anyway, it's just a real relief to see one of our community members, an outstanding Rotarian, not just locally but nationally and internationally, come back. So Tim Murphy's
I walk over to Chris Casey. I'd like to acknowledge that a Rotarian is back from Florida who hasn't been with us. Dave Bellows is online. Can you wave to us, Dave? He was online. Oh, okay. He must have made a bathroom break, but he couldn't quite make the 2-block walk from his home to here. So I was told to say that. Chris Casey, yes. Sorry, I walked right by.
So Lakeville South Scholarship update. Our little scholarship committee met on Tuesday night. We picked the Lakeville South Scholarship winners. So that wraps up the scholarship season, and then sometime in May there's a presentation. Of course, I don't know if it's going to be live or how it's going to go up, but So we did pick the winners, that's good, so scholarship season, I guess, is wrapped up. And then Steve brought this to my attention that I think it's important for people to know that over the last couple of years, we've actually had some speakers on mental health issues. And we've never read more, one of the questions in there pertains to a specific challenge you might have had in your life. We've never had more responses ever, I mean, since I've been doing this, regarding mental health and how they've had challenges with depression, anxiety, the challenges going through the pandemic mentally and stuff. So we just thought it was kind of noteworthy to at least say that it's real. So those speakers that we have, and we're talking about mental health, it's coming right through our students, in my opinion, but kids, it's been, this pandemic has been super hard on especially our kids because it's so cooped up. Sports have been a challenge for mental health, it's very real. But in summary, again, scholarship season's wrapped up. We don't vote on this, it's not part of the committee, but Strive scholarships obviously didn't exist, but Strive did not exist this year, so kind of a bummer, but those dollars are gonna be rolled over the next year.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for organizing. How about a hand for Chris? A lot of work with all the schools and all that, and us, yeah, piece together. But if you ever get a chance to volunteer to review the applications, it's really well worth it, and it's very moving, as Chris said. Probably a large percentage of them really open up on their struggles, and but it's beautiful to read those. Tom Varnock, student of the month. Students.
Yeah, make sure to speak right in the speaker. There, please.
Thank you, Steve. Before I get going, I just want to say it is great to see everyone here this morning and online, but everybody in person looks better than I remember everyone. So it is good to see everyone, and I'm grateful for everyone that's joining us online. And I know that we have our students of the month online with us and their deans from the school, so that's just outstanding. So each month of the school year, the Lvl Rotary Club recognizes students of the senior class who demonstrate service above self and outstanding leadership. For the month of March, Addison Brown has been chosen as the Rotary Student of the Month for Lvl South High School. Addison's parents are Stephen and Tracy Brown, and her dean is Kelly McDermott. Over the course of her academic career, Addison has taken 14 semesters of AP courses and 16 semesters of honors courses while excelling in basketball. Addie ranks in the top 5% of her very competitive class of 465 students. Upon graduation, Addison plans on getting her bachelor's degree, and then she plans on attending law school. Not only is Addie extremely passionate about academics and learning, but she is also found leading her peers in many clubs and activities such as basketball, National Honor Society, Spanish Club, Cribbage Club, Key Club, and HOSA, rewarding as a natural fit for her. Addison dedicates her non-study time to volunteering as a youth basketball coach, Feed My Starving Children, and other Lvl High School leadership events. Whatever activity or the cause, Addie commits her time and naturally leads her peers. Also this month, for the month of March, Lvl North High School has chosen Eshar Sikar as a Rotary Student of the Month. Eshar's parents are Ramaskan Kamashar and Suja Ja Sukar. Aaron's dean, actually, Esha's dean is Holly Stanton. Esha was selected due to her being very motivated student, with a strong work ethic, and high academic record. She is enrolled in 8 advanced placement courses at Lvl North High School. Esha is a member of the varsity tennis and captain during her senior year. She is president and founder of the Entrepreneurship Club at Lvl North High School and is a member of DECA. Esha is a model United Nations as well as an ambassador of the International Campus Connection Club. She is a member of the Math League and a Science Olympiad member. Outside Lakeville North High School, Esha volunteers to teach underprivileged children tennis and coach them on leadership, self-esteem, and confidence. She has collaborated with a local Girl Scouts grounding troop and taught technology basics. She has also been part of the Challenger Learning Center in Minnesota, a STEM day at the State Fair volunteer, which introduces young kids to robotics. These two outstanding young women, I'd like us all to give Rotary round of applause. And I know that for the club, when we recognize these students of the month, it's so inspiring for us to see them not being outstanding achievers both academically and in sports and all their life, but they also find a way to serve others. And as we look at these three young women and all the things that they do, it's amazing and it's inspirational. We'd like to thank them both and for their schools and their teams for also presenting them. Another round of applause. Thank you very much.
Man, he's good at that.
Release them from.
Oh, and the students can be released to go back to class. Hopefully it's in person. And thank you for joining us this morning. So if there aren't any other announcements, we'll get into our program. I'd like to introduce the son of Gary and Jane Paul, Jack Paul. He graduated from Lakeville North in 2010, so he's a young guy. Graduated the University of Minnesota in 2014 with a degree in horticulture. Having been working at Paul since the age of 12, his first job was making boxes. Not sure what the child labor laws, Gary, are in Lakeville, but they're probably a little more lax because you're friends with the mayor. And now he's full-time since 2014 at Paul's Market. Jack and Nate, his brother-in-law, started Northern Naturals Cannabis Company in 2020, and I met Jack in 2019, and was very impressed with the young man. So please, round of applause and welcome for Jack Paul.
Thanks, Steve. All right. So let's a little bit of history about Paul's. So it was first started in the late 1800s, early 1900s by Frank Paul. Now, my grandma claims that Frank had like little raised bed gardens, so we don't know how farming he was, but that I'm technically the 6th generation farmer. So lot to live up to, some big shoes to fill, but willing to put in the work. So we previously, if you guys know where the Mall of America is, which I'm sure everyone here does, just south of there, we used to farm on the Minnesota river bottoms. So until about 1992, my dad can fact check me, but essentially they wanted to transfer it into a wildlife protection program. So we basically got moved out of there. And my grandma and grandpa, they purchased the Apple Valley piece in 1979, where Paul's is today. So the apartment buildings, all that used to be farmland behind us. So how far we've come, I actually remember the farmland behind us. So it wasn't until about, well, my dad would have fact checking on that, but mid-90s where we sold all that stuff behind us. So my dad and my aunt started Paul's Market. So they started selling out of the back of a semi truck. And if you know my dad, sometimes he goes a little overzealous. And one time he burned a bunch of geraniums, and the whole crop was ruined. If I'm not mistaken, you'd have to let him know. He's here today, so I'm gonna roast him pretty good. I told him if he shows up, I'm not gonna hold back. So, so then my aunt decided to join Northwest, and then basically from then on, my uncle and my dad have built Paul's into what it is today. So from about 96 to 2005 or 6, they put up a greenhouse about every year. So It wasn't until 2010 we added a few more greenhouses, and then in 2015 we added one of our larger greenhouses that we have that you probably don't see. It's on the east side of Paul, so you pass it, but you probably don't notice it. And then, as Steve was saying, myself and my brother-in-law, we started Northern Naturals. It's just basically a separate entity, but it's all tied. I mean, Paul's Market, Paul Farms, Northern Naturals, it's all basically the same. Steve already went over that stuff. And then, so what don't we do? Basically, we're almost like food farmers. We don't have it, don't eat it. So in the springtime, we start doing flowers. So we start growing our flowers usually around middle of February, second weekend in February. So for those of you who don't know, that's how early it does take, or that's how long it does take for those plants to get established. So we have a little over 3 to 4 acres of greenhouse space, just square footage wise. We also do trees, shrubs, perennials. I think most of you guys are familiar with that. And then the summertime, I don't think a lot of people know that we still farm, but we do a little over 600 acres of vegetables, probably closer to 800, but I said 600 because that's where I want that number to be. And let it be known, he's in the room, so this is why I say it. So we're probably one of the largest producers of sweet corn in the state. So I feel like a lot of people know us from our garden center, but we are one of the largest farmers in the state of Minnesota, vegetable farmers, I should say. And then we started a CSA program in 2014. So if you guys aren't familiar with the CSA program, basically you sign up, you get a weekly box of produce each week, and you can pick it up. We partner with Von Hansen and Great Harvest Bread, so you can pick it up at their locations too. So it's been a nice little added portion to the farm side, just because you get the money up front instead of waiting for a customer to happen. So it's kind of adds nice cash flow in the winter months where you normally wouldn't get some. And then about in 2018 we started farming hemp. So in 2018 they passed the farm bill, and I'll get to the whole why it's only 3 acres, if not less, in a little bit. So fall pumpkins, fall festival. I always say, like, every year or every season's my favorite season. So if you hear me say that fall's my favorite season, I say spring's my favorite season just as much. So, but we do pumpkins, fall festival, winter spruce stitch, Christmas trees, wreaths. I mean, there's never really a day off there, which is nice. It's a lot of job security. Sometimes I wish I could go back to making boxes though, instead of being the one in charge. But that's such is life. We all got to grow up. So our hemp adventures. So in 2018, before the farm bill had passed, we were actually one of 2 or 3 licenses to grow hemp. And then obviously the farm bill passed. So there's probably a little over, I would gotta say, like 60 licensed growers in the state now. So I can't imagine that number is gonna get any larger, but we initially started about 2,000 square feet in our greenhouse. And then the following year, we ended up growing 50 acres of hemp, which I did the math, and with our extraction machine, I'll go over all the processes of hemp, but it would take us about 4 years to extract all the hemp that we grew from our machine. So we would be busy. So now we only grow about 3 acres, and I have a few plants indoors as well, just to kind of keep the crop going. So when you see this picture, it looks a lot like marijuana, and you feel like maybe I might become a part of narcos. You never know. But so cannabis sativa, hemp, and marijuana both have the same species name. So when I say cannabis, a lot of people think that's marijuana automatically. It's not. Cannabis sativa is it's like an apple tree with different varieties, sweet corn with different varieties. It's all within the same genus species. So it contains over 60 different cannabinoids. Most popular is CBD, but the CBG has also become more popular. And as years go on, you might be familiar with CBG and CBD. Now, like CBG, my wife actually has psoriasis, and since taking CBD, she no longer has psoriasis. So that's just kind of one. You're not allowed to make any claims, but I just find it fascinating that she used to have some serious problems, and now after taking that, she doesn't. So it's kind of cool. So it's not marijuana. So I had to put up signs that are on walls because people were breaking in. So I literally had to put up signs saying this is marijuana. It's kind of sad, but I had to because it smells and looks exactly like marijuana, but it's basically itch weed for those who use so you want for hemp or marijuana, you want a female flower. That's the one that produces the buds. The male would be good for if you're trying to seed stuff, but if you're just looking for flower, you want the female flower. There's a lot of uses. So like in Europe, a lot of people have used hempcrete. Now there's a lot of load bearing restrictions that hemp can't do. So a lot of cement companies, they're not necessarily going to mix it in with their cement, but there's possibilities of that happening. Fibers, paper, rope, mulch, clothing. So we actually mulch some hemp mulch up. I mean, there's a lot of uses, but I think the most fascinating one is batteries. So in the last year, they've done some serious studies, and the amount of surface area and carbon that's in hemp can actually hold a charge better than a lithium battery. It's not there, the technology's not there yet, but it's kind of crazy that's the limitations haven't been reached yet. So I think it's good. Although I don't know as much about batteries, so I'm kind of screwed, but that's all right. So CBD consumption, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys do CBD at all, but there's about 3 main things you can use. Smokable, which is, I think all of us went to high school, so you guys probably know how to smoke it. Maybe not. Bad joke, I guess. Tinctures, so tincture, you just put it underneath your mouth and you hold it for 60 seconds. And then there's also vape pens, salves, lotions. A lot of our customers really like salves and lotions, and they like the tinctures. So if I'm using it, which I do, I would only use the tinctures and the salves or lotions. I'm not a big smoker. I don't think that's necessarily the smartest way to consume it. If you saw the oil that comes out of the plant, I mean, that's got to end up in the lung. So I just don't think that's necessarily the way to go. Not that I haven't done it, but most have license, so you have to have a license to grow hemp in the state of Minnesota. You can't just start it up in your backyard. You got to make sure that you get the state certificate. There's a lot of different nuances. Unfortunately, it's not as regulated as it should be, but they're getting better.
What was get back up the slide?
Sure.
It says you must get your fit for Congress. What's fit?
Yeah. So it's just, so when you test the bud, the state comes out, they take samples around your crop, and then your fit for commerce is it's basically your THC levels were below 0.3%, so you're okay to sell that product to whoever you want. So you have to have your license, and then you have to get it tested by the Department of Ag, and then they give you your fit for commerce.
What happens if it's below?
If it's above 0.3, so they have changed this rule about 10 different times in a matter of a year. So right now, at the end of March, they were changing it to, if it's above 0.3, you can technically mix it in with other products to lower that THC content. But otherwise, if you can't get anything below the 0.3, you just have to destroy the crop. Still work. Yeah, you could. Actually, I don't understand the burning. I guess you could. None of the problem is none of the hemp that even if it's 1%, it's not going to be high. So there really shouldn't be a 0.3% THC threshold. It's just, I think they just did it so that if people are going to grow marijuana, they know that, hey, this is definitely marijuana. This is definitely so smokable flower. So you want it to get down to 10 to 15% moisture. It's kind of a lot like corn and soybeans, similar process. So you don't really want to dry it in the sunlight. It kind of degrades the CBD. I can't believe I had a bomb on there. I didn't even realize that. Disregard that one. So tinctures are the most common in the industry. So basically, when I was saying the tincture comes in like a little, medicine thing with a little dropper. It's a 30 milliliter bottle, and the tincture itself, or the droplet itself, is a 1 milliliter. And it's basically it's like Tylenol. I say, you could take as many as you want. Nothing's gonna happen to you. So like the milligrams, if you've seen, we have a 500,000 to 2,000 milligram tincture. So it's basically just potency. So if you're familiar with Advil or Tylenol, same thing. 250 milligrams and 500 milligrams, it's going to be the 500 milligrams one's going to be strong. So how to make it? I won't dive into too much of the stuff because I don't think anybody needs to get bored out of their mind at 8 o'clock in the morning. So, but basically, the hemp, you harvest the hemp, you throw it in there's like different processes for extraction, but we have a CO2 extraction, but we think it's the cleanest. But basically, the CO2 pressurizes in a vessel at like 180 psi, and that basically squishes or 1800 psi, sorry. It basically squishes the flour and produces the oil into a little jar. But then so after that happens, I'll go to my next slide. After that happens, basically, you have your fats and lipids and everything that's contained in that plant. So you have to basically go through and clean it up. Which, let's see, where am I at here? I already did that. Yeah, so once you have that oil that's extracted, you then have to add some ethanol to it and throw it in the freezer. So then those fats and lipids will separate, and then basically you have to run it through a vacuum funnel and suck out with a filter. So all the fats and lipids end up in the filter, and then all the CBD, all the other cannabinoids that you want are then in that funnel. Then you have to separate your ethanol with the distillation, like short path distillation, which I should have paid more attention in science class because that was a whole other learning experience. Kevin, maybe I should have had Joanne teach me a little bit about science. Who knows? But so
she'd be good at this.
Right. So those are the kind of processes of getting to that fine tincture. And like I said, it's called a rotovap. It's just a short path distillation, which that then contains about 85 to 90% CBD. So once you have it distilled, you could get high. Like the levels of THC are technically high enough where it is pretty concentrated. So you got to be careful before you distribute. You have to then mix that stuff with like a coconut oil, any other oil base that is food safe, to get that percentage down to 0.3% again. So right out of the chute, I mean, it's definitely potent enough.
Personal knowledge.
Right. No, actually, yes. So we have 7 flavors and 3 potency levels. So there's a 500,000, 2,000 milligram tincture that we sell. So we have 7 flavors. Obviously, you can see on the screen. My favorite's the natural. I don't think that you really taste any hemp derived extract or anything like that. It's just a very smooth tasting tincture. It's actually our most popular. A lot of people like it that our customers come in. And Steve actually has some at his Rotary bar as well, so he can attest to which flavors he enjoys. So that's basically what we offer. But then there's other companies out there that have what they like to call isolate products. So our products are all full spectrum, so we don't remove any of the other cannabinoids or terpenes or whatever. What our product is it's just a pure, minus the fats and lipids, but it's just pure hemp extract, or not hemp extract, CBD, well, hemp extract, but there's isolate products where they basically just take its lab and they just take the CBD to separate everything else out, and it's just CBD. And from my personal research, which I'm not a scientist, but they just say that with full spectrum, it just adds, when it's ingested, everything kind of, it's almost not adhesive, but it works better than just CBD alone, I guess, if I want to put it in layman's terms. So, but there are isolate products. So if people are afraid of ingesting THC or anything like that, there are products out there that are isolate products. So what CBD can help with, I think everybody's aware of like the opioid crisis and all that jazz, and I feel like CBD does, I'm not saying it's going to cure it, I'm just saying it has the potential of taking some of those things that people are addicted to and helping with them, but anxiety, sleep, anti-inflammatory, it has been known to fight some cancers, but like I said, you're not legally allowed to say any of those things. Obviously there's been studies, there's been proven cases, but it's nothing that you can actually say that it helps with. It's just, it's kind of a gray area right now, unfortunately. So we offer gummies, lotions, dog treats, anything. Yeah, and that's it. So if you guys got questions, I'm all ears.
Where's your store? Would you mind just standing by the other microphone when we're asking questions? Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, where's your store? Yeah, so where's our store? So we have two. So Steve at Remedy Bar, he has our products, and then also Paul's Market is our store. So Northern Naturals itself, I don't have a retail store. We just sell out of Paul's Market basically. So in Apple Valley, I think once cannabis or not cannabis, once marijuana is legal, then I would say we're out of Paul's Market, but who knows? Yeah.
With Paul's Market, with all the products that go through that, what regulatory bodies do you have to comply? How many are there? I mean, Department of Health, I mean, who regulates?
Who regulates Paul's? Or
yeah, I mean, not only indoor but national, but
so the Department of Ag is probably one of our, I mean, my dad would know more, but Department of Ag is definitely the main one. So they run through produce and this hemp industry. They've been looped into both, essentially. So we don't really deal with, well, I don't really, the only person I have dealt with is the Department of Ag.
Yeah, you kind of alluded to it, but who's doing studies on the benefits? So, because it seems like there's a lot of potential for the product.
Yeah.
But who's doing that research? Do you know?
There's plenty of universities that are doing them. So it's not like the University of Minnesota does a lot of studies, but like Stanford, all the big universities have done studies. There's just not enough where you can go and put it on your body. I mean, you don't ever want to make claims on any product anyway, but you're not legally even allowed to advertise via commercial or anything that says that it helps. Yes, sir.
Jack, you described how you get to the oil part and then you add coconut oil.
Yep.
Is that the only oil that you have that dilutes the THC, or is there?
That's the only oil we add, yeah. You can add other stuff. You could add, say, if you extracted some lavender, you could add stuff like that to mix it in with. That's the only oil that we mixed with.
So product before the oil is illegal. And
yes.
then the coconut oil makes it legal.
Correct. Yeah, you're not, I could give you the distillate that's illegal as long as you don't, I could give it to you as long as you're saying I'm going to distribute it with the legality. So I could sell it to another person who's making tinctures if they want to make their own mixes.
But that person would have to be licensed as well.
You do not have to be licensed to be a broker. So you don't have to be licensed to sell it technically. You only need a license to grow it. Which I think is backwards, but that's.
So anybody can buy that from before the.
Yes, right now you can.
Right now?
Yeah.
How much?
Boy, cut it. Hey,
said about your harvesting would take, the original part was what, 4 years or something?
Yeah, so,
Can you explain that a little more?
okay, so all the hemp is harvested, and we call it shucking, so we strip the leaf, or strip the plant out of all the buds, and then we ground it up, and we just have all that ground flour available to throw in our extractor. Our extractor only holds 8 pounds of dried flour at a time. So we have that much dried flour. If we ran that machine for 24 hours, it'd be like 4 years. So we would just need to get a bigger machine, but like if something ever ramped up, we would just obviously get a bigger. Ethanol, or ethanol based extraction, you can usually come bigger. You can fit like 50 to 100 pounds of a batch. So you can have to switch to something like that. Yep.
What's that shelf life of that flour?
The shelf life we've done, so it's been a little over a year, and we have an HPLC machine, so we're still able to do tests on the levels of THC and CBD, and there hasn't been any like degrading of the product, so it's still holding it. I would say as long as you keep it dry and out of moisture, it should hold for, I mean, at least a couple of years. But the oil itself will probably last for, I've done studies, but I'm saying the oil itself could probably last for 3 or 4 years. I mean, it's like, it would be like, I don't cook, so what's the, when I want to.
Olive oil?
Oh, it's like olive oil, similar consistency. Yep.
I have a comment more than a question.
Sure.
And I think it's just congratulations to you and your family for, you know, the Christian family was one of the old farm families that were truck farmers. And I always heard stories about the Hags and the Pauls and the Christians that were doing that. And you guys are the last ones standing. I mean, that's impressive over all those years. So I just want to.
Can we check online if there's questions? Do we have questions online? No? Okay.
Don't run out, Jeff.
Thank you, Jack. How about a round of applause? Of course, it's a very deep topic too, so it's hard to get into, but if you ever get a chance to see their grow operation indoors, I have. It is very impressive, and I know he probably has a big thank you for his father for making that huge investment, because I understand it is quite an investment to get into that business. We'd like to give you an honorarium we will be giving an honorarium in your name to Treehouse, which is supports at-risk children in the Twin Cities. And I also, for a token for you coming in, is a coin before we test on it. Kathy's going to take a picture. Oh. And yes, I'll pay you $1 or more for the commercial mentions I got.
There was 3 of them. 3.
How many times was his name mentioned during that presentation? At least 3 times. That's $3, Mr. President. Can we go at least the first president? Start with that. But if we're doing a fundraiser, make sure it's from Paul's Market. And I also would say, I'll pay my buck for that, by the way.
Where's that located?
It's at Cedar and Dodd at Crossroads. We're doing a fundraiser for Paul's Market. We love Paul's Market. They're amazing. So thank you so much for presenting today.